We welcome you to this series on the interior castle of St. Teresa of Avila. My name is Father Blaise Chaya. I am a Passionist priest. My full-time ministry during the year is traveling across the country and preaching parish missions. During the summertime, when the mission season gets slow, I do a lot of mission appeals. I preach for the poor in the Mandeville, Jamaica Diocese. But now I would like to do a little video series that I'm going to put on the internet. And I would like to introduce you in a way to Teresa of Avila, but most of all to her writing, The Interior Castle. Teresa grew up in Spain back in the 1500s, and she, over the years, has become a firmly established member of our Catholic Church and the Communion of Saints. I think she is the patron of Spain. I live here in Northern California with one of the Passionists from Spain who joined our province many years ago, and he talks eloquently of Teresa of Avila. Ever since he was a little boy, he knew all about her life, and he knows details I never even dreamed of about this wonderful saint. Teresa is also a doctor in our Catholic Church, and when the Church declares someone a doctor, the Church is not only saying their teachings, their writings are orthodox, the Church is also saying they're wise, they're worthy to be studied. And in recent years on my parish missions, I've been using some of the information or ideas of Teresa from the Interior Castle, and I found that many people respond wonderfully to it. Maybe we're at a point again in the flow of history where this type of writing and these types of insights that Teresa give stir the heart and speak to us. Maybe right after Vatican II, we got so intensely into the scriptures and the liturgy and this type of thing that some of this type of writing, this imagery that's so much part of our Catholic consciousness and our Catholic tradition fell to the wayside or off to the side. But it seems as though today there's a return of interest on the part of many Catholics and maybe other Christians, I'm not too sure, in this type of reflection and these type of writings. So what I'm going to be going through with you is the Interior Castle. And it's one of the primary, some consider it the best writings of Teresa of Avila. She did not write a great many books. I think all of her writings are contained in 3 modest-sized books. Now, this book is a commentary on the Interior Castle by Sister Ruth Burroughs. Sister Ruth is a Carmelite nun. She belongs to the same order that Teresa would have belonged to. And she lives in England in one of the Carmels. I'm not sure how old Sister Ruth is today. She may be older than I am. I'm not sure. But anyways, several years ago I came upon this book and I started reading it. And I was fascinated by Sister Ruth's ability to break open and help us understand the writings of Teresa of Avila. This is an earlier edition. I think this came out in 1981. It was produced by Sheed and Ward. Evidently it sold out after a couple of editions, and then in 2007 another edition came out. This looks like it's by a different publisher. I think this says Burns and Oates, but then you read the information inside, I get confused just who actually published it. But anyway, this is the one out today, and maybe you'll find the other more in used book sections. But anyway, this is the book that I use. As you can see, it's a rather small book. It's not that many pages. So those are the type of books that attract me. When I see these real thick ones, I hesitate. But anyway, I got into this book by Sister Ruth Burroughs, and she, as I say, has a beautiful ability to break open the thought of Teresa of Avila, primarily as she explores the interior castle. In the interior castle, Teresa plots a journey from the outer moat to the innermost chamber. She has this metaphor, this big, beautiful castle, and in the innermost chamber is where Jesus lives, deep in the soul. But we have to journey in life into the inner chamber with Jesus Christ. And she begins the journey at the outer moat, where all the alligators and crocodiles of mortal sin are, and kind of the outer court where the people are just living totally in what she calls the flesh, St. Paul's idea of just being totally in the material world, hardly conscious at all of spirit and God and holiness. Well, this is kind of where the journey begins, and then she plots the journey through 7 stages she calls 7 mansions in our efforts to finally get into the heart of Jesus Christ. So these mansions are the key reference points in the journey that Teresa develops. You know, Teresa herself is not easy to read. In fact, Sister Ruth Burroughs does not really too strongly encourage people to try to read Teresa directly. Teresa, even though you can pick her up and you can read her in a way, she's somewhat convoluted. She goes this way and that way, and she mixes in so many things that it seems as though you lose what she's really trying to say. It's harder to hold on to her. Sister Ruth has spent her life studying the writings of Teresa, and Sister knows Teresa so well that she even knows when Teresa is rambling. She knows when she made a little mistake. I don't think she intended to say that. I mean, she's inside of Teresa's mind so beautifully, so wonderfully, that she can kind of walk you through some of the more complex, confusing things that Teresa is trying to say on occasion. And one of the reasons Teresa can be complex is because of different levels of perception and expression. Sister Ruth comes up with kind of 3 basic notions. She says there's some people in the realm of spirituality and where God is working deep within the soul and God is purifying and transforming, and she says some people are lights on. A few people God gifts with the ability to go into their unconscious and in some way to actually see what he is doing. And then God gives them metaphors and words and gives them the ability to bring it into consciousness and to speak it or to write it. And Teresa was a lights-on individual. And as a result, when she starts talking, she is talking about a realm that most people never see, because she has the ability to see directly into the soul. She sees the work of God in grace, this deep mystical work that God is doing. Now, Sister tells us most of us are lights off. We go through life and God's at work, hopefully, but the fruits of his work are breaking out in some way in my behavior and in how I live, but I have no direct consciousness of this deep work of God within. And as a result, we are blessed by a person like Teresa of Avila. At least many people enjoy reading somebody who kind of talks about what they cannot see. I think probably some people are turned off, even good Christians or Catholics, by Teresa. They don't like that kind of stuff, so to speak. But yet I believe that Teresa can really be a wonderful instructor if we can just kind of enter into her thought and follow her. Well, not only are there lights on and lights off people, but there are what Sister Ruth calls sensitives. There are people who are not seeing the direct working of God, but they're close enough tuned to kind of the action going on inside that intuitively they're trying to bring it to consciousness, but it comes out more in feelings. They're the type of people very sensitive. They have nice feelings, but they aren't accurate, necessarily. They aren't nearly as clear as lights on, who are literally seeing the work of God and able to express it. But she says that not only was Teresa a lights on, but she was also a sensitive. As a result, Teresa loves these feelings. She loves kind of this erupting of experiences and psychic states and stuff that flow more from her sensitive nature than from her lights-on nature. And as a result, when she's writing, she gets talking about all these things together, and it's hard sometimes to separate. What is the grace anointing that she's really trying to say is a lights on? What is she kind of just saying because of being a sensitive? And this is where you got to kind of work your way through some of her writings when she starts putting these different layers on top of one another. Where is the meat? Where is the really important thing that Teresa is saying? And then Sister Ruth says there are non-sensitives, people who just aren't into that. I can remember not too long ago I was at home and somebody was seeing Jesus on a screen door. So you'd go to this house and there were crowds gathered outside and they were looking for Jesus, his image on the screen door. Well, those are kind of the sensitives. Those are the people that like to find expression or get a feeling about that type of stuff. Others are more matter-of-fact about all that. They don't get caught up in whether or not the image of Jesus is on the screen door. But some do. Some are the sensitives, and it seems as though Teresa was not only lights on, she was a sensitive. And as a result, it does take some help in our journey if we're going to try to perceive what she's really saying about each of the mansions. And this is where I believe Sister Ruth Burroughs has spent her life, becoming a great guide, a great help in our journey. I am neither lights on nor am I a sensitive, so I kind of am more matter-of-fact in my journey about a lot of this very powerful and wonderful stuff. But that's who I am. And so I present to you as my guide, Sister Ruth Burroughs. And so what we're going to do now is go through each of the mansions. And you will begin to see a very, very wonderful revelation of the journey we all have in our relationship, our journey toward Jesus Christ. So let's begin the journey. I encourage you now to go to the next video, which will lead you into the first mansion.